What's up, everyone? It's AG Reviews, back at it again. First, I wanted to hop on here and say Merry Christmas to everyone and all of your families. I hope you have a great holiday. I know I am not doing too much today, having dinner, watching Stranger Things later. So I did want to get on here and talk about the film I got to see last night before, the Stranger Things craze takes over. And that movie was Marty Supreme. I went out last night and watched it. And yeah, so let's talk about it. I will say that the road to this film and the release of this film has been a bit of a strange one. We've seen a marketing campaign like one we've never seen before with any type of film. It's been very Timothy Chalamet centric, very heavy, very, pushing out there, pushing the envelope, doing things that haven't been done before, with the film's marketing. And I think, too, that has garnered some negative criticisms, right, of how it's been handled, how Timothy has been acting in the marketing leading up to this film. It's turned some people off. I don't think I really felt any specific way going into this film when it came to him or his actions leading up to it. For me, my focus going into this film was on who was involved with it. Obviously, I think Timothy Chalamet is a great actor. I definitely believe that the Safdie brothers have produced a couple of my favorite movies in the last decade with Good Time and Uncut Gems. And then obviously the Safdie brothers broke up, right? So they're no longer directing and writing together. They now are kind of separated and doing their own things. Earlier this year, we got Benny Safdie, who did The Smashing Machine, which I will say I wasn't a very big fan of. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I think it was really well made, but it did lack something, on the story side. It wasn't really super cohesive in its narrative. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, and it was a little worrisome for me because, like I said, I was such a big fan of Good Time and Uncut Gems that I felt like maybe if these two aren't together, that was going to lead to disaster. Boy, after seeing Marty Supreme, totally wrong in that assessment. And we're gonna talk a little bit more in detail on why I think that is and why I believe Josh is really the one who is gonna go to new heights and do incredible things, like he did with his work on the previous two films. But yeah, so we have to talk about it. For me, after seeing Marty Supreme, this film is absolutely fantastic. I really don't have any negatives. It's been about a day since I've seen it, and I really can't think of anything negative for me personally that I have to say about this film. Everything works about it for me. To me, it's a perfect 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever rating system you want to use. I think this is one of the best films I've ever seen. I think it is probably my favorite film of the year. I don't want to immediately run to that claim just because it's the end of the year and it's recency bias and everything like that. But man, this film was such a ride, so exhilarating, so intense, so good. And with saying that, like I talked about just a bit ago, the Safdie brothers did split up. We got two projects from both of them this year, and to me, the one that Josh Safdie did was far and away the better film of the two. So now that kind of makes me go back and look at Uncut Gems and look at Good Time, and really think that Josh Safdie is the one who brought the flair and the style and the direction that really works for me and resonates with me. And it's no disrespect to Benny. I just think he's better in other avenues than Josh is. Particularly, like, obviously he's an actor. He's been acting lately. He was in Good Time. He was really good in Good Time. But it's very clear that from a creative perspective, from a directing and a writing perspective, that Josh Safdie is the one that kind of carried Good Time and Uncut Gems, because when you watch Marty Supreme, it feels exactly like those movies. Now, it doesn't give you those same experiences, but the kind of exhilarating pace and the chaos involved in both of those films is very present here in Marty Supreme. And that's just the one thing I will say about Josh Safdie that I think, makes him one of my favorite directors and one of the my favorite newer directors, that have come in the last decade. That does really good things is that he can produce a chaos and a intensity in his films for the entire duration of the film and it not get overdone. Like a lot of directors have scenes like this, that are super chaotic, super anxiety inducing in their films, but after a while you can only do that so much. Josh Safdie is the only director in modern times that I think can produce that type of environment, that type of tone, that type of vibe for a 2.5 hour runtime and it not, shit the bed and it not ruin the movie and not get overdone. There was at no point in this time in this film where I was bored. This was 2 hours or 2.5 hours of exhilaration, of fun, of chaos, of just everything that I look for in movie making at the forefront. And it never lets up at any point in time. Like, I felt exhausted leaving this movie. And I haven't felt that way since I saw Uncut Gems back in 2019. That's another movie I really love. And I understand it's not for everybody. We're going to talk about that here later on. But the tone and the chaos that he brings to his films, to me, resonates so well. And is something that I really enjoy. And it's a fresh perspective. It's not something you see with every single director out there. He brings something new and unique. And I thought that was gone. Like I said before, I thought with him and Benny breaking up that I thought that was not going to be present anymore in their films, that I thought maybe it was both of them that was the magic. And I don't want to discredit Benny. I really don't. I think he does good things too. But it's very clear that everything I liked about the Safdie brothers' first two movies together came from Josh, because all of that is still present here, and it wasn't present in a movie like The Smashing Machine. So, yeah, I love this film. I love the chaotic energy he brings. I think he has a very promising future, and I'm going to watch any movie that Josh Safdie directs and writes, and it'll be immediately put to the forefront of my most anticipated film coming out, whenever that is. So, yeah, I think he definitively, with this film on his own, solidified his name as one of the best directors in the game right now. And now we could talk about Timothée Chalamet. He's gotten some criticism that, I don't think is necessarily warranted, for being very outspoken about how he wants to be one of the great actors of his time, if not the greatest actor of his time, how he wants to be recognized for his work. He wants to win an Oscar. And, some people, that rubs some people the wrong way. I don't really have a problem with it either way. I don't think it's good or bad. Looking back, though, on his comments, he was 100% justified in what he said specifically about this performance in this film. This is his best performance of his career. And it's not even close. I loved him as Paul Atreides. I thought he was good as Wonka. He was good in that Bruce Springsteen movie that came out last year. He was good in Interstellar. This is by far his best performance of his career. And it's one that I think he 100% this year deserves the Oscar for. And I actually think he's going to win, which is crazy, because I probably wouldn't have said that. Usually I know the Oscars likes to take their time with actors. Obviously, notoriously, Leonardo DiCaprio didn't get his Oscar until way later in his career, when he definitely deserved it for other movies before that. I'm not sure that they're going to do that with Timothée now, because I think this is such a powerhouse performance and required such a range of emotion and acting ability that I don't even think it's close. The actors I would say that are in contention with him this year, is probably Leonardo DiCaprio from One Battle After Another, which, wasn't a movie that I was really high on, but I thought his performance was great. You got Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, which I really am getting irritated with how no one's really mentioning him. He should be a part of the conversation. But to me, what Timothy Chalamet did in this film is by far the best performance of the year. And the combination with Josh Safdie's chaotic writing, direction, and the film that they are in just created an all-time great performance for Timothy. And I don't vote on Oscars, obviously. I'm not even like an official critic or anything like that. But if I could vote for him to win the Oscar, he would 100% have my vote. And I don't even really think it's close. And I will say that this film is very similar to what we got in Uncut Gems. It's very high-paced, very chaotic, very anxiety-inducing for the entire runtime of the film. So if that's not a film that you really liked, I don't know if you're going to like that here. But if you're someone who did like that film, I think you're going to love this film. I liked Uncut Gems. I liked Good Time. I think this is Josh Safdie's best film. I think it balances all of those, ingredients much better than those other films did. The pacing here is much better. Like I said, this is basically 2.5 hours of nonstop enjoyment, fun, chaos. There's at no point are you bored in this film. The movie never stops at any point. I had to use the bathroom at some point during this movie, and I feel like no matter what moment I would have got up and ran to the bathroom, I would have missed something. So, what we got here, I think, is Josh Safdie's best outing as a filmmaker. And him and Timothy having this collaboration, I think, just brought out the best in both of them and is better for them, for both of their respective careers. And I can't wait. I hope they work together again, because I think what Josh brought out of Timothy here was just magic and something I would like to see more of in the future. And like Uncut Gems, what works so well about this film is that it takes a character who pretty much is despicable, who's not a good person. He's trying to achieve greatness, and he's basically burning every single bridge that he can while he tries to do it. And that is very commendable to me when it comes to like a writing and a directing perspective, because this is not somebody that we should like and root for. And I found myself on the edge of my seat wanting Marty to achieve his dreams and to make this happen. I mean, this is basically just a story about, he has a big tournament championship where he loses, and it's mostly just about him getting back to that championship game and rematching that person that he lost to, and all the crazy events that happened leading up to it. And there's a lot of despicable things he does here. I mean, he tramples over a lot of people. He doesn't, just in the pursuit of greatness, he doesn't care what happens to anyone else around him. And that's not someone that, if you knew them in person, you would really like. But they do such a good job in the movie at making you root for him and make you want to achieve his dreams, because on some level, that is relatable. People want to achieve their dreams. A lot of people will do whatever they can to make it happen. So I really thought that was a great part of this film, was that you rooting for somebody that's, is not very likable and is not good, but is trying to make something good out of it. Even in Uncut Gems, as much as I like that, I loved Adam Sandler's performance in that movie. Howard Ratner was not a good guy. So there wasn't really much that you were rooting for when it came to his character, even though the performance was fantastic. Howard Ratner, the character, was not a good guy at all. There was really nothing redeeming about him whatsoever. Marty here at least has some redeeming qualities about him. So that way you kind of understand why he takes such extreme actions to achieve his dream. So I thought that the story that they went, and that's why I think this is Josh Safdie's best film, is because I felt like the story that they were telling here can be relatable for the average person who just wants to achieve their dreams. And I also did want to get a shout out to the rest of the supporting cast. I think everyone across the board here is fantastic. You have the new girl, Odessa Zion. She was kind of like Marty's childhood best friends that kind of becomes a romantic relationship. And she was great. I thought her dynamic when you have scenes with her and Marty together was really well done. She's kind of like the yin is his yang. She's a little out there as well, and goes on these crazy adventures with him. You also had Gwyneth Paltrow and Kevin O'Leary. They're husband and wife in this film. And, I don't want to spoil anything what happens there, but, they're very integral to what happens to Marty on his professional side, with the tennis and everything. But I felt like all the supporting characters had specific jobs in this film and did and executed those roles pretty much to perfection. I don't think there was like a weak person in this cast. Tyler the Creator was also in here. Obviously, he's very new to acting, but I felt like he did a really good job. He was one of Marty's friends in the film. In their dynamic, they had really good chemistry, and I think worked really well off of each other. So for me, acting wise, and all the actors in the film, I don't think there was really a weak link. I think everyone, came to act, brought their A game. I think Josh Safdie, again, I keep praising him, but I think that he is very good at getting the best performances out of his actors. He seems very actor-centric director, where anyone who works with him gives him praise, pretty much puts out one of their best performances anytime they're with him. So I thought all around it was a great ensemble cast. There wasn't really too many big names, but just enough to do what they were trying to do with this plot. They all had their perfect roles and added to the story. And again, the score of this film is fantastic, which I also thought were high points of Good Time and Uncut Gems as well. They used some songs, right? Some songs that we know, which were also used in the trailer. They used those very effectively, but then the original score that was made for this film also was very well done, and it's very unique. Like, the scores of Josh Safdie's films never really give you a score that you've heard before. So I really always enjoyed that, and I think every time the score kicks in, it really adds to the moment of whatever chaos or, character moment is going on, and is really well done. Yeah, overall, I mean, I really, like I said at the beginning, I don't have anything negative to say about this film. I really enjoyed it. The more I've sat on it, the more I've thought about it, I've enjoyed it even more. The only thing I will say is that I don't know how much of a broad appeal that this movie is going to have. I tend to believe if you're someone who did not like Good Time or Uncut Gems, you're probably not going to like this film, because it does give you the same type of experience, where it's very chaotic, very high energy, high anxiety. So if that's, the style of movie that you don't like, I don't think you're going to enjoy this. But if you did enjoy those two movies, I think you're going to love this film. And I will say, I think this is the most accessible of the Safdie brothers films. So, even if you didn't like those two, you could still probably give this a chance, and maybe you will like it. But I don't know. I just don't know how, as much as I like their style that they bring, I don't know how accessible it's ever going to be, because it's a very unique film and style of film, but it's not one that is the most enjoyable in certain aspects. I personally like it, but your average person might not. But yeah, guys, I mean, like I said, very much love this movie. I think right now it is my front runner as my favorite film of 2025. I'm going to give it a little bit of time before I create that list, just to make sure that, it's not just recency bias and that I actually really do love this film. I'm probably going to go see it again. I think it's definitely a film that will warrant multiple viewings. So yeah, but for me, this is the last film I'm probably going to see new release-wise for 2025. There's a couple of films that I didn't get to see earlier in the year that I will watch before I make my top 10 list. But yeah, what a way to close the year out for films. I think that this was one of the best experiences I had all year. And I can't wait to revisit it. So yeah, go ahead, guys. Comment below if you've seen Marty Supreme. Let me know what you thought about it. Am I crazy? Did you see it? You didn't like it? I have seen some people say they didn't like it. So, I think my theory is going to be correct, that I don't think this is going to be a, widely accepted that everyone loves. But yeah, just comment below whatever you thought about the movie. Let's have a conversation, right? This is definitely a film that I want to talk about and see what others think. See if I'm in the minority or if my thoughts become the majority or what it is. And yeah, everyone also to have a great Merry Christmas again. Spend time with your family. I know I had to take time to come out here and do this because I know it would have got swamped away in the Stranger Things hype that's coming here. So stay tuned for that. I will be, posting my review of Volume 2. I am planning on going on Darren's Sanctuary to do like a spoiler discussion with him and a few other panelists. So look out for that. And yeah, besides that, everyone have a great holiday and great rest of the year.